another hero that persists through Kraken Shell, who's very obnoxious for the Tide to deal with because you do have both the shards and that tag team. I like it. It's a little bit of a changeup, but I think a gleeful changeup. It's something that Black and Yellow, I think Nick's played it once or twice previously to this, but at the same time, you're a male hero, you're going to get more active. You're not exactly kill potential with your Doom here, but you are going to make Devi's life a living nightmare.
Yeah, that is sort of the benefit of the Tusk a lot of the time. You are just so exceptionally good at taking some of those early trades, of harassing your opponents, and sometimes there's kill potential. As you said, the Doom partner is not great for that, but who knows? Tag team, snowball, maybe trap somebody up in the shards, and we'll see what they can do from there. But either way, it is just going to make the Doom's life maybe that little bit easier and get him going a bit faster than some of the Dooms we've seen previously, and it's going to be all important that Zero sort of has a game, especially after that previous match on the Bloodseeker. We just really didn't see much from him, so it is nice to see Black and Yellow trying to take those steps to enable him a little bit more.
Oh, it's a brutal pick there for you. Not only feels a little bit like a deny pick, I think Black and Yellow would have loved to pick up the Kunkka in their own position, but again, one of Esk's favorite and arguably best heroes here. And now what do Black and Yellow actually want to pick into it for Sammy? Of course, you don't want to play Void Spirit necessarily. You can play Void Spirit, but it's just not very fun. I think it's something that really would end up with him just struggling purely versus Esk. Can't really go for heroes like the Invoker either. It feels like it needs to be some sort of lane counter. I hope it's not the Huskar. I hope they don't play Huskar at all because that would just be super sad. But at the same time, you're playing versus Esk, Sammy. Are you going to go for a Spirit? What is now going to be your answer here? Would love Storm, but we'll see in the next phase, I suppose. PA, really good option versus both the Mirana and the Witch Doctor. Versus Tide, also, once you get that shard, you have a natural break. You're actually able to kill the Tide at the beginning of these fights. It's a good hero that's actually able to track down, again, these heroes that end up getting doomed. It's also pretty nifty little combo there with the Disruptor. These heroes naturally give vision over to the Disruptor for those glimpses, both the Tusk and the PA. They have those abilities that kind of give you that next step. So I like the pairings that Black and Yellow are deciding to go for, but I'm still scratching my head here for what Sammy wants to play. And I completely forgot about it, but the Batrider would have been awesome in this position, but they want the PA instead, just assuming that maybe D2 have even more bans for Sammy because they were right on the money with everything prior to that ban out from them.
Mm-hmm. D2 Hustlers really just trying to push Sammy into a position where he's going to have to settle for something that is not ideal, I guess would be the phrase here. Not necessarily a guarantee that you lose the lane to the Kunkka, but there really aren't going to be too many options left. They can just straight up sort of bully him out of that lane. So your Hustlers, well, what else are you concerned with? As you said, you weren't sure if you wanted Sammy to play a Spirit, but a lot of them are still in the pool, so if you think maybe Black and Yellow will try to force it through anyway, they could go for that ban. Instead, though, they do remove the Death Prophet. Not a hero that we see all that often, but for Black and Yellow, it would have kind of ticked some boxes for them. You'd have more pushing power, you'd have a bit more sustainability, you'd have another frontline hero, so it may not be popular, but it's certainly not a bad ban at this stage.
Honestly, I feel like the most obvious hero that they could go for. I was thinking of the DP, oddly enough, myself, just because it is the classic versus Kunkka, just because you can actually play up on him pretty reliably. But Lesh is the first hero that comes to mind that isn't banned out yet. I think that would probably be their easiest entrance onto a lot of these towers and a lot of these early pushes. At the same time, is this just a...
Oh,
Okay, that's your safe lane TA. They could still swap it, depending on if they try to make this just an absolutely horrendous mid lane. Dude, I'm even more scared. I hope they don't get you baited into picking the Huskar now, because then
oh god.
I'm just be terrified. But yeah, Razor is the pick. It's gonna say that's the other option in that same vein as Death Prophet, where the Kunkka has to choose. Oh, Yuma's playing Kunkka. Okay,
Wait. Oh,
that's a safe lane Kunkka.
huh. I cannot recall the last time I saw a Position 1 Kunkka in a pro match, but, well, I suppose to a certain extent, I think that makes a little bit more sense between the two. It feels like S does play the TA a bit more than the Kunkka, so maybe just a little bit more comfortable with that hero in particular. And, well, now you're in a situation where you're putting the TA mid against the Razor, which is a different matchup than we were expecting. So maybe that's part of the switch up as well.
Yeah, and I feel like a big part of it, even though I'm assured that both of those players are both capable of playing both of those
Oh yeah,
heroes, that the Razor is the answer versus the TA. That is why they go for it here, regardless of whether or not this was going to get moved around. The Sammy Boy is going to be able to deny per out pretty much every step of the way. It's the reason you go for it. You force that TA to play in the small camp because otherwise she's getting linked up in lane and getting all of her CS denied in front of her. Only problem with the Razor is, of course, you are very, very short on your lockdown now. Everything is about what vision you can hand over the Jubei to then get that layup on the glimpse, to then get these kills going to yourself. You do have some potential in the mid lane for those early ganks. You've got Tusk, you've got Razor. Esk is definitely going to need to be careful whenever that wave does start pushing into the Razor. Being caught on his opponent's high ground is basically a death sentence in this game, but that's where we might see the changeup in his play himself. However, Black and Yellow, if they get to 35, 40 minutes, they have a real carry. Not to say that this Kunkka carry isn't going to do wonderful things here, but traditionally, Black and Yellow have a much more stable lineup if they can actually get towards those zones. I'm, however, just a little bit scared of Yuma because he is the Magnus man. He is the Monkey King who comes at 12 minutes into the game. So I feel like this Kunkka is almost playing in that same ballpark where he doesn't care farm. He's going to get his farm, but he's just going to start running at you pretty soon here. I just don't want to see Black and Yellow just get put on the ropes that early.
right. It's a hero that in the middle lane we often see sort of looking for those rotations early. So you would have to assume maybe your itemization changes a little bit, putting it into the one position, but the timing at which he's going to be able to fight is still potentially going to be there. And speaking of fighting, though, Lee is going to get hit up in the river. He did scale up the leap at level 1 to get away, which is going to make the lane a little bit more difficult for him, obviously, without the arrow, but at least he doesn't give up first blood, and this early play from Black and Yellow,
Well,
I
that's
don't think it's
bad.
going to be enough. Jubei can't get the kill, but yeah, Flea, what does he really do early? Without that arrow, you can't take the range creep, you're not going to be able to snag yourself in neutral, so he just kind of has to sit there until he hits that second level.
Yeah, that's real bad. Actually, of course, you don't want to give that kill over to your opponents, but at the same time, really unfortunate for Flea. That really messes up the way he plays this hero. He's going to be stuck attached to Monster's hip until he hits level 2. Unfortunately, that kind of ruins a lot of the reason why you pick Mirana. I feel like that's why so many Miranas end up eating the death,
Ooh,
is just because of that. But that was nifty.
not quite enough damage, but they almost pulled it off. The double meld Devi. If there was anything for the cast to bounce to there, I think they get that kill. But with just the singular hit, they do back away. But yeah, put a little bit of damage in onto Little Nick. He's got 2 full stacks of tangos, though, so I don't think that damage is going to stick. And this is a bit of a tri-lane setup. We saw this earlier on in the previous series with the Brewmaster being left alone. Not 100% sure the Doom has the same same scenario where he can just sort of sit by himself, but Devi is getting jumped in on. That cast, though, is bouncing quite nicely. It's not going to be enough to matter, however, as Yamsun is going to draw first blood, and, well, Yuma, with a level 1 Tidebringer, wasn't really going to be able to do much there. So the tri-lane does strike. They get first blood on the board, and now I'm interested to see if they actually stick around. Little Nick is going to block the camp, where he really does much of anything.
Yeah, and honestly, I think they're completely fine with staying here. PA is one of the best heroes paired up with this Tusk. Of course, once you hit level 2, you're going to see even more of that. Something that they will have to wait on for quite a bit here, but this is a lethal lane. As soon as you have that kinetic field, as soon as you have either the snowball or the ice shards, really can't afford to walk up at all if you're Yuma or Devi. And unfortunately, they don't have much say in the matter either. It's not like you're going to bring a level 1 Murano with Leap over towards that lane, and unfortunately, that's where Zero, who is going to definitely be feeling the pressure just a little bit more, doesn't really die in this lane. As long as he gets regen consistently flown out to him, he is just going to devour up, eat creeps. It feels like you definitely need to do something if you're D2, otherwise this is just going to keep happening, and Salve got cancelled. Jubei doesn't get the kill, but I mean, Yuma can't do anything here.
Does he's got a wand. That's not going to be enough. You see Devi even trying to heal him up with the Voodoo Restoration. So a little bit of desperation setting in early, and they're just going to go in again. There's the dagger. And Yuma, he's just going to accept the death here, really. Or maybe not. Torrent's going to come in. Now all of a sudden, Yamsun is the one who needs to be a little bit careful. But They're still
He
trying to
wants to
hunt.
die. Oh,
Yuma. Still going to get taken down. Yamsun finds the kill, and this tri-lane for black and yellow, I mean, we said both after game 1 and into the start of the game 2 draft that they needed to make some serious sort of adjustments here, and tri-lane is a rather drastic change, but it is working incredibly well for them. Both of those 2 kills going directly to the PA.
and because you have Nick now, you have him on the highway. You're immediately able to go mid if you'd like it. And okay, they are moving around a little bit. Zero needs to be scared of the dive. Nice job here. Okay.
And there's going to be the Tidebringer coming in for the cleave. Zero, though, still not going down without a fight, and, oh, that might be some trouble. The Torrent comes through. Monster needs to gush again.
Creeps.
And I think they've got it now. Zero should be going down, and the question at this point is, do they straight up swap these lanes? Does Monster try to make his way down bot, or we're not really seeing anything from them right now as Jubei's going to TP his way in, so we have yet to receive an answer, but this is a weird situation for that D2 Hustler side. I mean, they did get that kill. That is fantastic for them, but there's no one down in the bottom lane farming outside of Divide, technically speaking, but not a whole lot that he is getting here other than just some experience. So the lane has already been disrupted. Okay, Monster will TP down.
Yeah, he was just waiting for his Ring of Health. He got enough gold from that kill, so they do get that nice reset. But this is really smart from Black and Yellow. When you get those early advantages early on, you stick your opponents in kind of this gridlock where they can't really make rotations and help out other lanes because they're busy recovering by themselves. So now Esk is put under really heavy pressure here. Of course, his bottle will kind of just get him over the line right now. He's not in too many dire straits. It's not like there was a dive play on him too recently, but at the same time, you can't really respond at all if you're D2 Hustlers. You kind of just have to wait and see. And this also saves Zero game, honestly. He gets to do whatever he wants now. And does Sammy do this?
He is going all the way in for it. The refraction comes out. Sammy's going to sort of peel off now and doesn't really have to worry too much about retribution because Esk still doesn't have his damage back. So these are the kind of plays that the Razor can make in this in this exact matchup as he wrapped around, but I thought for a moment that Plasma Field was going to lead into another dive. He'll back himself off, but meanwhile, over on the other side of the map, Monster still dealing with that tri-lane setup, and well, this is the reason why you put the Tidehunter down here. He is going to be able to survive it with all 3 of those heroes on him. Obviously not sitting in a great spot HP-wise, but if that were the Kunkka, he'd just be dead.
Yep. It feels like now D2 Hustlers, they kind of got what they wanted. They might just go again, though.
Well,
yep, really well timed on their part. They got him right after he used the Anchor Smash, so he didn't have that damage reduction, so they just got the kill that they wanted, and Yamsun is the huge winner of this early game, and because of those rotations from D2, you also have Zero, who is still getting pressured, but he's got his levels. He has been on his own, but because he gets stuck versus the hero that kind of got ruined earlier on, the Yuma can't really do all too much versus him. Doing a good job of keeping that creep wave away from him, but once you get a little bit of speed on this Doom, you kind of just get to play your own game.
yeah, he really is not suffering much right now. You take a look at the last hit count, he is behind all the other cores in the game, but that's what Devour's for. He is going to be able to just catch up and potentially even sort of surpass some of his counterparts over the next few minutes. As down bot, no. Monster getting hit up a little bit here, but they really do need the Tusk to sort of help out with that extra damage and lockdown. So without it, they'll keep Monster pushed back, but now Sammy, he's got the Arcane Rune, he's got the ult at the ready, so they're going to try and make a rotation down there, and Tide, let's see, yeah, he's not level 6 yet, so there's not going to be any sort of Ravage play to defend himself. It would have to be TPs or just hope that he can withstand this damage, but with the Razor here, that doesn't seem like much of an option. Sammy's going to go in, they'll throw down the Static Blink, Monster really can't break the tether thanks to the Kinetic Field, and that is going to require reinforcements, but Flea actually doesn't fully commit. The TP is, well, really just not there. So no backup comes. Monster gets taken down. Black and Yellow, I believe, actually even going to get the tower from this. So this lane has gone unbelievably well for them. The tri-lane pays off. They've got the tier 2 tower down at the 7-minute mark, and Yamsun is just really farming away here. His Battle Fury progress might not be quite as fast as it would be otherwise because he did go for that over corrosion first, but still working towards it at a nice pace.
And you look at the top side of the map, and unfortunately, they're not able to get that same amount of pressure onto Zero. It feels like really the role reversal kind of happened. And with Sammy getting aggressive on the map, sure, you're giving away that mid lane just a little bit more over to Esk, but it's just a TA farming right now. A TA who had her Ancients blocked for an incredibly long time,
Okay.
so we're not going to see that huge stack, but Zero should die to the Maledict. Yep.
Yuma's going to take it for himself, so that's a nice little pickup for the Kunkka. Gets both of the supports in, but now those supports, they might have a play to make on Little Nick here. He's kind of in no man's land, a little bit too far forward with no one to back him up. Could try for, yeah, that exact play, but Flea's just going to leap over, goes for the arrow, and Little Nick will be punished. And unfortunately for the Tusk, that play really doesn't even slow Esk down all that much. He's still going to be able to take this stacked camp, so see D2 Hustlers maybe starting to stabilize a little bit here in the early stages.
Yeah, and of course, I think Esk will realize his large camp is blocked as well, so he'll just rotate on mid, but that's also where, how do we now get onto the rest of the map? It's a question that Black and Yellow really struggled to answer in the previous game, because this mid tower would give them all the time and space in the world. I think that would really be the best objective that they could try and force down, but unfortunately, heroes aren't really good at pushing a lot of these towers that aren't just immediately getting collapsed upon by everyone but Monster.
Well,
Okay.
he does have the Ravage, so if reinforcements arrive, he could try for it. There's going to be that Ravage. Arrow comes out. They connect onto Sammy. Esk wants in. A meld hit here could find them the kill. As Sammy will fall, and now they're onto Yamsen as well. They're going to hit him up with the X, looking for the ghost ship into the torrent to follow it up. And, well,
It's a trap.
that's always going to be the problem on the Tide, right? If you can't take him down quickly enough, Monster buys so much time for his teammates, and for Black and Yellow, that just feels like maybe they were trying to do a little bit too much there in too narrow of a window.
Unfortunately, those were both of your cores. That was it. That was everything they wanted with Yuma's boat as well, getting the secondary kill onto the PA. And unfortunately, now, what is the game plan? It would be terrible for Black and Yellow if this game just starts to grind to a halt and they're just stuck sitting on this Battle Fury timing and they're not able to get anything done. And that's where I think D2 Hustlers are the exact opposite. They're going to keep looking for plays like this constantly. They've got the X-Torrent, they've got the combo with the Murata, and it's a lot of damage and a lot of space as well, given over to Esk, who is kind of just able to do whatever he wants when his teammates are successful like that. I think we really need to see some more measured play from Black and Yellow. They really need to do a better job of, I think, taking away some of the areas from their opponents, because right now they could be killing Monster, but because of the fear of making that same mistake in that part of the map, now they're splitting the farm 50-50 with another core, while Esk is, again, just farming the other side of the map. And it's not like he's competing for farm either. Yuma is got this nice hidey hole in the top lane as well that is completely set up from Devi's vision. There's no movement towards Yuma at the same time. So Black and Yellow, it feels like right now they're grouped up, but they're not really making a concise decision. Even though they are working towards some of those items, it just feels like maybe it could be a little bit cleaner right now.
And you have a certain philosophy at this point. If you're going to have this many heroes being sort of brought together... Oh, hold on. Yeah, going to get jumped in on. There's going to be the X into the ghost ship, into the Death Ward. And Yamsun, he's just looking for the TP home. That might be the call because the Maledict is ticking him low, but it's not going to be enough.
Whew.
Okay. Very close call, but he's able to get away. But the point... the point I was going to make before that sort of skirmish breaks out, if you're Black and Yellow and you have that many heroes brought together, it doesn't matter what the target is, but you do have to go for something, because the only thing worse than going for that play and losing it is to bring that many heroes together and then not do anything with that move. As Monster is going to get jumped in on, they know that the Death Ward isn't available this time around, so they're going to make the play, and they've got it. So yeah, there you go. Decisive action, no matter what the action is going to be preferable to sort of sitting and resting on their laurels there. So Black and Yellow find the kill. Now, where do they go off the back of this? They've still got some heroes grouped up. They could maybe put some pressure onto the tier 1 tower mid. But you do see D2 Hustlers bringing the supports over, so they know this is likely going to be the target. They want to try and defend it.
And okay, this is awkward. Everything whiffs from everyone, but
Oh
yeah.
god, Flea, he's going in. There's going to be the snowball. Okay, Monster. That Ravage is not going to hit much. He's glimpsed out afterwards, but they do get around onto Sammy. They've got the X. The Death Ward's going to come in. There's the Ghost Ship. The torrent, everything being deployed, and, well, it's kind of hard to believe that all of that came out from, like, 3 missed spells in a row, but here we are, ET. It's going to be a bit of a trade-off that goes Z2 Hustler's way, and once this glyph wears off, maybe they can get a little bit more damage in. I don't think they can take the tower outright, but they can at least pressure it up a little bit, although you see Monster playing a little bit further forward. This is exactly what you want the Tide for, but they recognize the threat. There's heroes coming in. Flea's going to get hit up by the Glimpse, but I don't know if these two alone have the damage. Flea is going to be able to leap away, but he leaps directly into Zero, so they are still going to be able to find that kill. Now they went on to Monster. They know he has no Ravage. They're going to try to catch up to him. Over on the other side of the map, though, Yamsun's getting jumped himself. There's no one for him to actually Phantom Strike away to this time. And back in the middle lane, they weren't actually able to keep chasing onto Monster. They didn't want to dive the tower. So, well, if that had been a trade, I think things would have worked out okay. But as it stands, they lose their PA. They don't get any more damage onto the tower. They don't take Monster. And now these heroes are looking for something, but there's not a whole lot for them to do other than just farm some of these camps.
Yeah. And now, what do you actually do if you're black and yellow? Of course, this BKB is going to be absolutely massive for Sammy. He's going to be able to run into these fights, be the vanguard that his allies can deal with. But that's timed right up with Esk's Deso, where we've seen this Razor versus TA matchup play out. Until you get an actual armor item, you don't want to be on top of the TA. That's the last place you want to stand, and you will just die if you ever do try to commit on her unless she is just already getting doomed or stunned or something in that regard. I think that's where they are still looking for these opportunities to make breakaways onto that mid tower, and unfortunately, they're not giving them over to their opponents, and that's also where D2 have just made plays in between. They keep on finding Yamsun, which is a massive problem, and Sammy, he's got the Tusk, so he's fine here, but the Tusk is forced to be here, so he's not getting his own game started as well. It just feels like right now the map is kind of heavily going in D2 Hustler's favor, while Black and Yellow are still playing that waiting game. Yamsun's 500 gold away from that Battle Fury. Of course, he is going to be able to farm it up, but I can't imagine you can afford losing him again, and look at the space. Esk is getting a little bit greedy here by going for the Roche right now, but if they get it for free, then suddenly you just do whatever you want. He's got the regen rune as well.
A Monster. Pulled back. Esk comes out of that pit for just a second, looking to see if he needed to back up his teammate, but once Monster is free and clear, they go back into the Roche pit, and yeah, they are going to be able to get this. Without that regen rune, I don't know if that happens. Esk was pretty low when that regen got popped, so a little bit fortunate there with the RNG from the rune spawns, but it does get them the Aegis, and now you've got your TA with 2 lives in a Deso. They are going to push their way forward. This tier 1 tower is their first target, and Black and Yellow would really have to bring everyone to try and take a fight here. They do get a glimpse onto Divide Llama, though, so they'll pull him back. Witch Doctor dropped low, but the Ravage is coming in. Divide's going to be able to turn around for the Death Ward only for a few seconds, but he's still got the damage out, which means Yuma can come in, gets down the Ghost Ship. Meanwhile, oh boy, Jubei. The Static Storm is nice, but the Kinetic Field, it doesn't quite form fast enough. They're not able to lock anyone in. Now Sammy's actually just going to get run down here, and he is not. He's just not tanky. S takes him down, and well, Black and Yellow, I understand what they wanted to do there. Thought they had a play with that glimpse, and it was very nice onto the Witch Doctor. It's just the only play they could potentially make as Esk. Okay. You will lose that Aegis. Is there anything more?
Nah. That was really greedy and arguably kind of bad from Esk. He wanted to tank for the cart there, but instead gets punished, and actually he could very likely get glimpsed back here on the ward if they keep him stunned up for enough, but oh, the shards, well, maybe not anymore. Zero is maybe going to make the rotation over, but still doesn't matter. But that's where, again, I'm worried about this team fight that, unfortunately, Black and Yellow just don't have. They need to start this fight. So this was... Oh, Yuma. No way.
They don't
the ward.
Get the vision. Oh,
the tree.
Look at it just stop at the tree line. It's so perfect. Well,
what a TP.
Perfect for Yuma, I suppose. But
and then the fight.
Now, Little Nick stunned up. Will it bounce back? No, it will not. So they won't chase any further than that. And now Yuma's got plenty of time to potentially regroup with his teammates, although he's farming up the side right now while his teammates are looking for the kill. They do get forward onto Sammy. Death Ward comes in. Arrow connects. Sammy's straight up dead. BKB still not done. Lil Nick is going to try for some sort of revenge play, but Divide, he's healing himself up. The mech comes through from that Mirana. They're not able to take him down. The Snowball, meanwhile, isn't really going to be all that effective. Lil Nick just gets pulled back in by the X, and Esk is able to take him down. So Black and Yellow, these plays really just seem to be falling apart on them, and now Yamsun's got to try to get away. He's got that Phantom Strike up in 2, so as long as Jubei stays within jump range, he does have an out. But he actually wants to try and push his way forward, hoping to defend the tier 2, and I think that's going to work out, mostly because D2 Hustlers, well, they don't really want it, but Devi, okay. Pulled back in, Dagger is there, should be the Witch Doctor taken down. Nice and easy kill for Yamsun, but that's all that they get out of that scenario, whereas D2 Hustlers just kind of feels like they're getting more, but if you're Black and Yellow, at least you can take some solace in the fact that you've got both Yamsun and Zero still at the top of the net worth graph, but, well, I don't know if that lead's going to last for much longer, and then you look at Sammy, very far behind all the other cores in this game, and at this point, barely ahead of Flea on the Mirana.
Yeah, this is their big moment, though. Zero, he has the BKB. This 3-man can definitely work out here. They've got all of their abilities. They want to glimpse back, and...
Static. Oh, that kinetic. It just won't form in time.
Nice TP, though.
Okay. Be able to get himself away, but Lil Nick has been caught. The torrent comes through. Good shards, but the X pulls him back onto the wrong side of it, and Yuma's going to be able to take him down. But at least in that instance, you didn't actually use the Doom. You're able to fall back with that. You only lose the Tusk, so this is very much a situation that Black and Yellow could sort of regroup and rally from, but as of right now, it doesn't really look like they're searching for any sort of aggressive maneuver.
Yeah, it just feels like right now they're ping-ponging between top and mid and finding on these creep waves. Jubei, ooh, nice little D word there. Dodges the arrow as well. Sammy's got BKB, though. Huge item for the Razor. We can maybe stay on this Templar Assassin for just a little bit longer. Of course, it's still very difficult, and you have to be very careful with your usage just because Flea does have that Force Staff already, so he's always going to be looking for those breaks. Same with Monster. Did a really good job of playing versus this Razor up until this point. But most importantly, Zero, we gotta see a Doom. He's working really quickly towards that Blink Dagger right now. Once he has it, his job gets so much easier, but we're still in that waiting game where, unfortunately, their timing's just not syncing up for maybe another minute or two, and unfortunately, there's been a lot of that this game on the Black and Yellow side. There hasn't been that same level of, we have this huge power spike, we're gonna make the play, we're gonna go here, especially, again, after how well their lanes went. But look over at D2. They're just moving into these areas. They're taking complete control, and then they're saying, okay, we can take a fight here now. Now let's go find where our opponents are at. Because this tier 1 mid is still standing. They've just never had an opportunity to put any pressure back on here, which just allows the map to be so much easier for D2 Hustlers to play. Because as soon as they say, let's smoke up, let's move back over towards that outpost area, they can. And okay, TP's in. They see the Doom in the trees.
Yeah, this is not quite sneaky. Zero is going to be here to defend the tower at least, but Yuma, X, Torrent, do they go any further? No, they don't, because Devi got picked off in the west side, or east side jungle, rather, so he is going to sort of sound the alarm. His teammates break out of that attempt onto the Doom and fall back before anyone else can be caught out, but that's great. If you're Black and Yellow, Zero's able to defend the tower, you find a kill onto the Witch Doctor, and you do sort of push back this timing a little bit further while the Doom, as you mentioned, is getting closer and closer to that blink. So they are buying some much needed time, but now Moonlight Shadow comes in and they're going to look for a rotation.
Yeah, we got to go soon, though. Zero, well, as soon as he gets this blink, we got to run with them. It's going to cost another smoke, but oh, this would just be the worst case situation. If they catch both these heroes before they use their BKBs, they should feel pretty unsafe here, though.
Blink is purchased. Zero's having it delivered out, and ooh, okay. Smoke is coming. They might want to wait just a second or two for him to actually have that blink. There we go. Delivered out. The rest of the team
so
continues to push. Look at the scan, though, revealing, well, the presence of heroes, and they're just going to back out. Monster's already TPing. Flea. Well, Flea is going to get spotted.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus, that's a little bit of hate there, but they needed something.
Ex-teammate.
So, static down, but they find the pickoff. They open up this south side jungle a little bit on the Black and Yellow side, so they bought more time for themselves to farm, but they really do need to start getting in onto the likes of Yuma and Esk, because that gap between themselves and heroes like the PA and the Doom is not quite as wide as they would like, so can't afford to take their foot off the brake now. We see them grouping up mid. Could just go straight in for the tower. That's exactly what they'll do. The Glyph, however, is going to get popped by Hustlers. Yuma comes in with the X. The Torrent's going to be dropped down as well, but this is not a great fight. Even with the Static Storm down, Monster doesn't really have any sort of blink, so he would just be force staffing his way into Ravage range, and I don't really want to pull the trigger on that just yet, but they have now brought all 5. Is there a smoke? Flea doesn't have it. Does Devi have it? Yes, he does.
I think they're going to push in this mid wave, and then we could see him go for it. Finally, Jubei finds this ward, though. That's exactly where they were going to go, and we might see them disperse now, and I would totally agree with it. They would have made the play if that ward was still standing, but it's just not guaranteed at this point. And with the game slowing down like this, Black and Yellow are completely happy farming with these BKBs. If their opponents aren't forcing those engagements, then they're fine. Because we are going to end up in a situation where suddenly you can't really go and play as aggressively on this TA as you otherwise would be, just because the armor is there. As soon as you get a plate mill up on 0 as well, he is no longer a target. Your targets are shrinking if you're D2 Hustlers. They're still getting their farm in a lot of these areas of the map. I'm just concerned that they're not really finding the same level of activity as before. Still, Sammy is a pretty easy kill if they can get him without BKB, and is he... Oh, he's gonna Ravage. Oh,
boy.
no.
He thought it was just Yuma, so the Ravage comes in and Sammy gets taken down. That is an excellent bait play for Monster. So much patience to wait that out. Waits until the exact moment when he realizes, okay, he can't possibly pop the BKB in time now, and they're going to look for even more. They get the Gush into the Torrent. Little Nick is going to get trapped up here. The Glimpse does pull Yuma away, but Devi's still coming in. He's going to be able to throw down the stun. It bounces between the Creep and Nick, so Nick will fall. But now Yamsun wants in. Going to be able to quickly take down Devi. Sammy now buying back, TPing onto the outpost. D2 Hustlers, they may have gone a little bit too far, but Yuma's able to get the X onto Yamsun, pulling that PA back. And between that, the Moonlight Shadow, and even a Force Staff out from Monster himself, D2 Hustlers will be able to fall back successfully.
And then that is the problem with this Disruptor hero. It's great whenever your opponents are running away from you, but only if you can see them. You need that little bit of setup that either your heroes or you yourself are able to provide, and that's where Mirana is just honestly a really good matchup versus it. And that's where, unfortunately, we need a little bit more. That buyback from Sammy just stings. Roche, of course, is alive. I think that's why he goes for it, just in case his team did need him. They were going to need to be there to actually make that contest happen, but okay, there's no Ravage. Good timing for Black and Yellow.
Look at Sammy just trying to intercept any maneuver in, but Yuma has the Ghost Ship, so they could just drop that into the pit. They'll go for the Torrent first instead. But they are pushing their way forward. Sammy's going to activate the BKB. He's looking for the Static Link onto Yuma. Will be able to get it. Esk, though, he's doing a lot of damage. That's going to force out the Doom. They actually throw down the Static, though, so they got the TA trap. They're going to quickly be able to take Esk down. Now they'll look for more. Devi gets picked up as well. Monster trapped in the shards. He will die. Yuma still fighting alongside Flea. Used the BKB to avoid the glimpse, but his HP is dangerously low. He is trying to armlet toggle as best as he can here. And he is actually buying quite a lot of time for himself. The problem is now Flea is the one in the crosshairs. They'll take him down. The leap is not able to get him away. Black and Yellow win the fight. They sacrifice 0 for 4 kills. That's going to allow them to get back into the Roche pit. Lay claim to both the Aegis and the Shard. And at this point, if you're D2 Hustlers, I'm not really sure you can do anything now. Even if they committed some buybacks, they wouldn't be able to reach it in time. So Yamsun, that's 2 huge pickups. The Aegis, and now he does have that Fan of Knives to work with.
And now Monster, his game is not secured. He is still going to be a massive target. At the very least, Yuma also has that Silver Edge, so evasion is not going to play a role, but Zero got his man. He found S, he stuck onto him the entire time. Esk was trying to be sneaky with the meld there, just sitting there, standing, hoping that nobody was able to see him. Even gets the Hurricane Pike off on the Doom to try and make that initiation as difficult as possible, but I also feel like D2 Hustlers are probably going to smoke and then immediately run at their opponents here after this mid-wave is kind of evened out here, because they need to get back onto the map. They want to establish control. Monster has Ravage. The entire reason that Roche happens is because he uses Ravage on that Razor in the top lane. And even though they lose Nick at the same time, they're always going to be okay with that trade. This is this timing where Yamsun just gets to finish off every single item he could possibly want and then go for the kills later on you. Because that was simply just the PA and the Doom 1v2ing the TA in that past fight, and This is also really smart from Black and Yellow. They're completely avoiding the fight. They don't even have the tier 2 down here, but they know the only way they die right now is if they get caught defending their towers. So they're just going to give D2 the map right now. And unless Esk is just immediately sieging, they know these towers aren't going to die too fast either. So Nick's got to be careful, though. Well,
Blake forward, Gush down. Nick. Oh, gonna get away. That's a very nice dust there. Had Yuma continued to chase, they could have had the turnaround, but the Kunkka's able to pull away in time, but that means that they don't get that kill, and well, they're at least looking for something up top. You see Flea and Esk trying to go for the push onto the tower. Of course, even if they get this, it's just going to be a trade-off because they lost their own tier 2 down bot. Oh, may not get it yet. Glyph's coming in, but Black and Yellow, do they TP anyone up here? Because at this rate, that's the only way someone gets into position in time. Yamsun does TP, but tower's already fallen. Zero TPing in as well, but directly on top of that trap, but they're still looking for the play. They want to hit up Monster. Fan of Knives will connect. Tide taken down right away. And this is really not a fight that they can look for any longer. You see Hustlers further to the south. We're trying to put pressure on Sammy, but it's just too broken up for them. Now Yuma, defensive ghost ship coming out. He's holding on to a BKB, so he could just look for the TP home. As Divide, he tries to TP home. He's going to get hit up by the glimpse. That pulls him back in. Yuma, though, is at least able to take that time to try and get away, but he's walking over a sentry, so they may be able to continue chasing. Can Zero get the blink up in time? No.
ooh, super slick, but there you go. Fan of Knives versus Tide. Dies before you're able to do absolutely anything. There you go. Nothing you can do. At the same time, he had Aegis during that entire engagement. They so badly wanted to find that first initial pick onto Zero, and unfortunately, it's just not in the books. You're just not able to make that play, and now this is a game where your opponents have 3 BKBs. They have all the activity in the world. Your Tide, unfortunately, can't play Dota. You're kind of past that timing now, and you only have 1 BKB on your own side. Yuma's the only one with spell immunity in this game. It's not even the best game for it, albeit because there is that Doom, but I don't think Esk is really able to stand in these fights either. He's so afraid of getting glimpsed back and kind of caught on his own just because that's how Disruptor works. And okay, Yam might lose Aegis mid.
Okay. They're going to get through the first life. Are they set up in any way for the second? There is a ghost ship coming in. Yeah, BKB from Yamsun's going to be activated and he'll simply walk away. But that is the first life being taken. That's not a bad maneuver considering they didn't lose anything themselves.
Yeah, they caught him whenever Zero was showing top, so they knew, but oh, Jube, can he make it to the ward in time? They know they're gonna just immediately run at their opponents here. If Jube finds the sentry, then they just immediately all disperse, but the backend might be caught here. They're looking at Zero and Jube.
Monster wants in. Ravage only hits onto Jube as the BKB was activated, but that is going to be a kill for them. Zero will TP out. Lil Nick will TP out. Sammy, he has a TP. Gets into the tree line, and yeah, he'll just leave as well. So, Ravage for Disruptor. Not fantastic for Hustlers. I guess, technically speaking, it buys them a little bit more time, but they were hoping for maybe a more significant fight than that, although Yamsun, they hit him with the X. They don't have a ghost ship here, and they actually mistimed the arrow. So this is going to get a little bit awkward, but they're still trying to push. Death Ward immediately canceled. And Yamsun, he is going to try to fight. I think he still dies, but he buys enough time for the Doom to be thrown down onto the Kunkka. So all of a sudden, Yuma doesn't really want to be here anymore, but he doesn't have any chance to flee. They're just going to take him down. And sure, they lose Yamsun, but they extract a heavy toll. All 3 kills going over to Zero.
Yeah, and the correct word is just sloppy. I feel like D2, they really were making the play that they wanted to make, but Black and Yellow, they realize something's up. They immediately get more cautious, and then all of that happens because they go for this play in the top lane that inevitably doesn't work, and then they, like you said, they miss the arrow. Things feel just a little bit strange, and with this gem, now Zero gets to clean up all the TA traps. It feels like now the split push delay game that Esk is trying to get going for his allies just isn't going to work out anymore. Nothing, you know, it hasn't going to be too lasting here. We do see them immediately smoke up, but at the same time, Esk only has an MKB, a Hurricane Pike, and a Deso. The game will refocus around that Roche, but I still wonder if this TA is ready, and Static Storm.
Static is there. Sammy refreshes. He's going to look for the secondary play. They want Monster and Devi. They're going to be able to get the first. They get the second kill as well, and D2 Hustlers, they're just getting straight up outplayed here, and Esk, there we go. We'll finally see him queue up a BKB, but until he gets that, I don't really think he can be comfortable pushing into any of these fights. So D2 Hustlers may have to surrender a lot of ground to their opponents until that TA is ready.
Yeah, it just feels like with the game plan they were going for, it's just very strange, to be honest, to see now. There can still be plays made. Nick, okay, did get arrowed here, but you're still down 2. Going into a fight that you are completely blind and there are no observers placed right now on the D2 Hustlers side. And you have to wonder, where are they going to decide to play for the foreseeable future? Of course, there isn't that refresher on Sammy. The Razor is only at half power right now, but you look over at Zero, and Zero is raring to go. He's got Doom in 25 seconds, and another glimpse. Oh,
Get X onto Sammy. There's the BKB, though, breaking up the play. Lil Nick wants in. They're going to immediately push onto Divide. They take him down. Now Esk in trouble as well. Has to use a Hurricane Pike, but it's not enough. Can't create the separation. Yamsun brings him down, and this fight is just breaking up. Yuma has to try and get away before the BKB wears off. He's going to be able to make it out here, and maybe Zero gets taken out. Death Ward comes in. Monster now blinking forward. He drops the Ravage onto pretty much everybody, but they just can't keep themselves safe from Yamsun. He goes in. He drops the knives. Yuma's dead. And yeah, this fight is pretty much over. Monster may be able to get away. Nope. Yamsun crits him down, and now they've caught Devi outside of the base as well. It's a full 5-man wipe. As Sammy's going to be able to clean that up, and Black and Yellow, they are just seizing control right now. D2 Hustlers just kind of feeling like they've waited too long to try and make a play. Now they don't really have the initiative.
and it's unfortunate that Ravage goes down after the TA dies without Doom being committed, without really any sense of your opponents backing off here. There is still Glyph that'll try and stop Black and Yellow a little bit, but they've got the counter Glyph. It really just feels like the game is completely out of their control now. And not to mention, if they really want to, Black and Yellow could probably take the melee here and then just immediately look over towards that Roche pit, and then you don't have Ravage for 90 seconds. I think Black and Yellow just got exactly what they wanted out of this game going forward. I don't know. D2 Hustlers just kind of stopped playing for a good 10 minutes, and then suddenly this PA with Battle Fury just got to do whatever she wants. I mean, Yamsun is fabulously farmed for this stage of the game, who's looking at an Abyssal Blade, and then there is no surviving. Then your tide dies to the PA zone setup. You just don't get to play the game. Not to mention, Yamsun has a full Satanic now.
Yeah, the means by which they bring this PA down are not entirely clear right now. Meanwhile, the Doom, we said he needed to be a very active participant. That has been exactly how it has gone so far. Sammy's had more than enough time to not only catch up to the cores, but actually surpass them in terms of the net worth. So you just can't give this much time, and now we see the potential consequences. Esk and Devi both able to force staff themselves away from those shards. The Static Storm will be dodged for now. But Devi, yeah, he just has to sort of turn around there and hope for the best. Fan of Knives deployed. Not really going to hit onto much, so they at least pull everybody back safely. That is going to allow Hustlers to reset, but they're still very much on the defensive at this point. Sammy has both the Shard and the Orb here, so the amount of ults that he would have at his disposal is just absolutely insane, and honestly, with that much firepower alone, they could realistically just try and push in. I guess it would have to be through the bottom lane, because top there's still a tier 1 and a tier 2, so not exactly going to be able to make the move into the top lane of their opponent's base just yet, but they know going into this next fight, it is going to be insanely difficult for Black and Yellow to sort of throw this lead away, considering how much they've got right now.
Yeah, the only factor holding Sammy Boy back is really just his own HP pool. If he ends up taking, you know, tier 4 tower damage because he's diving towards their fountain, then that's the only way he really dies here. But there's, not to mention, he's also going to have the tuning fork. He's going to have 25 soon. There's going to be so many targets getting hit by that Eye of the Storm. And what is there to look forward to if you're D2? You got a Lotus Orb on Flea, sure. You're looking at an AC on Yuma, maybe, but the BKB is still being built up by Esk. They're going to give away this entire top set if they try to wait out time for Esk to finish off his item. This is just the worst possible timing. He's even going to TP back. He's not playing around it. Does he sell something? I mean, this is just worst case scenario. They're already on the knocking on the front door, and there's still an Aegis and an Abyssal Blade to play with. If Monster's not careful, he will die by himself.
Well, they show enough to, I guess, push back the initial attempt from Black and Yellow, but that was less them on the D2 Hustler side forcing their opponents back and more Black and Yellow just playing it safe as Devi comes out of the base. He's going to get Force Staff back in, though, so they're able to avoid that for now, but here comes Nick and Sammy jumping into the base. They're going to look for Flea first. The Mirana taken down. No buyback available at the moment. Little Nick dropping a little bit low himself, but now Yamsun makes his move. Trying to jump on a monster with the Abyssal Blade stun. Not enough for the kill just yet, but they continue to push their way forward. Divine Llama going to get taken down. Buys back immediately, but Hustlers really struggling right now. They're trying to put damage onto Yamsun, but even if they kill him off, he's got that second life, but the Torrent does still connect. The Ghost Ship is going to come through. Another Fan of Knives, though, coming out into the Static Storm from Jubei. They're going to turn. They're dishing out so much damage. Esk is going to get taken down here. And I don't know that they can do this any longer. The Ravage was not enough. The buybacks are flying out, though. The Hustlers not willing to surrender without a fight, but they need something huge. They haven't even gotten through the Aegis yet, as Yamsun does get hit up by that arrow. They want to wait as long as possible, as they do get Sammy first, then trigger the Aegis. But they still have to kill off this PA a second time. Yamsun is going to fight. They're going in. Esk actually got hit by the Doom again. Zero was able to just refresh it with the Refresher Orb. Esk is taken down. He is dead with no buyback. And Hustlers, they're just running out of gas here. Yuma's trying to get back to the fountain. Not going to be able to do so. Monster dies as well, so it's down to Flea alone, and he can't do it. The GG will be called, and Black and Yellow storming their way back into the series with the victory here in Game 2.
It's really just perfectly played from Jensen. Jensen was everything in this game. I think he did a fantastic job of biding his time, waiting, playing around their timings, and the only timing that Black and Yellow really hit, and they hit it hard, was they got their BKBs. They finished it up on the Razor, the Doom, and the PA around the same time, and unfortunately for D2 Hustlers, you'll have a Tide, you have a Kunkka, you don't have control outside of just hitting that Blink Ravage. I think really, when Monster got that kill onto Sammy top with that Ravage, we all saw it. It was after about 10 minutes of them just farming on the Black and Yellow side, D2 unable to find those same plays. That was the turning point where Black and Yellow got that incredible fight for them to actually go into the pit. And I think every single time that Monster actually ended up committing that Ravage was beneficial for Black and Yellow. I don't think they got enough done with the few times that they were actually landing that spell. And unfortunately, you've got a pretty hard lineup to pull off. Of course, it looks a little bit weird. If we swap the names around, this lineup would look a little bit more samey from the D2 Hustler side if Yuma was on the TA, Esk was on the Kunkka. So that's not really a factor here. But at the same time, you can't help but feel with the way that they set up their lanes, with the way that they really were kind of forced to play around what their opponents were doing, Black and Yellow just kind of flipped the script on their opponents and did everything correctly. And to highlight, I think, especially Jubei, man. Jubei kept on finding people. They set it up very nicely with the rest of the hero picks for those glimpse sendbacks, but Jubei just kept on finding those static storms onto Monster, onto Flea. They had the Force Staffs, but unfortunately, the kinetic field doesn't let you out. You're not able to escape, and I think he's really one of the key playmakers for this team to actually get off the ground. I mean, he only had 2 deaths. D2 Hustlers were just simply not finding him pretty much ever.
Yeah. I mean, this is something we were sort of lamenting a little bit in Game 1 after we saw the drafts. We talked about how infrequently Black and Yellow had been able to just straight up draft themselves into a stronger position. We mentioned repeatedly they were always sort of reacting to a lot of their opponent's draft instead of just picking what they wanted for themselves. This felt like a much more self-confident sort of lineup. Obviously, the Razor pick comes out at the end as a little bit of a counter there, but not a situation where Black and Yellow were forced to go for it, one where they finally got to, in essence, sort of spring that trap on the opposing side, and you see how it works out for them. They did have to work their way past that initial hurdle, but once they do so, they were able to seize control.
Yeah, and Esk spilled, I don't know. I don't know what Esk was doing in this game. All the way back to him losing that first Aegis in kind of a random place, but just not getting a blink, not getting a BKB. It isn't the Esk TA that I think everybody knows and loves, but now in Game 3, not only do Black and Yellow need to, I think, redo what they've done here in Game 2, but they need to, I think, draft with first pick. They need to actually figure out, get their foot in the door, do pretty much exactly what they did here, and then do it confidently, because this was a very different showing.
Yeah. Could this be sort of the turning point for them in terms of their overall strategy, in terms of their confidence pushing forward? We shall see. So, much like the previous series, this one is going to be going the full distance. One final game here on the night to determine which of these two squads will advance and which team gets eliminated. So we will step aside for a moment, but when we return, it'll be the third and final match of the series between D2 Hustlers and Black and Yellow.